Good afternoon, world. It is moments past noon in Waxahachie, Texas, deep in the heart of the Lone Star State. We're coming to you live on the 15th of April, and that is
Boo.
Tax Day USA. This is episode number 56, and that is why I'm wearing my 56 Sergey Zuboff hat.
Look at you showing off.
My 56 numbers on both sides. That's a great innovation when you can see the numbers when they fly by on both sides. Sergey Zuboff, Dallas Stars, retired number hanging in in the rafters from banners. And this is the beginning of the Stanley Cup playoffs this weekend. I told you I wouldn't give you any more hockey poems till the Stanley Cup. Well, the Stanley Cup is coming. I got 4 hockey poems. I'll mix those in once a week. And what I'm going to also do is bring for you live and in color jerseys, 12 different jerseys in the next weeks from 7 teams in the playoff. All jerseys have numbers of great people that I love in the National Hockey League. You're going to get LA, Dallas, Minnesota, Calgary, Vegas, the Oilers, and Toronto. And some of these things you'll be getting more than one jersey from that team. And it's going to be a big old time. It's going to be a
Hey
big old
Terry,
time.
welcome. Did you finish your that was the
That's a long.
most circuitous intro I've ever heard.
Yeah, we didn't even get to the fact that we're broadcasting live from our palatial studio
You I think you got a woman,
in the
part of
shadows
your
of the
brain is
historic Ellis
female.
County Courthouse. And I'm your co host, Jeff Lynch. Our producer, I always say at the board, our
Yeah.
producer, Sam Brooks.
Mr. Producer, as Mark Levin says.
And it's my great pleasure and honor to introduce your host, my friend, Scott Brooks.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, it is tax day, which I got 2 words for the IRS. Fight me. Um, I hate the IRS, and I know most people watching me do. If you're an IRS agent watching, I'm sure you're nice, but still bite me. Anyway, welcome, Terry. Uh, we're here every Tuesday and Thursday. I'm sitting on my shirt. We're here every Tuesday and Thursday in this beautiful little setting here that we like to call home. Great and Good News is all about what's going on in our world. We want to bring the world to Waxahachie. And in some ways, we bring Waxahachie to the world, but we find ourselves talking more and more about national things that are going on, state things, that sort of thing. Uh, we want to welcome you. You can catch us on any of the social media networks. And of course, if you want to watch this, which most people do by probably a factor of 5, multiple of 5, watch it after the fact. Not everybody can watch during the middle of the day, but we love doing this and we love to have interaction. Uh, so thank you for being here.
And
We
no
have
matter what medium you're on, there's a bunch more. Tell them where all
Yeah,
they,
so
they can
you can
get it.
go Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and TikTok, where TikTok is set up such that you get our clips. Sammy produces our clips and puts them up on TikTok.
Simultaneously at the same
Yeah, all at the
time?
same time. Pretty slick, huh?
Huge.
So anyway, thank you for being here. It is a beautiful day, despite it being tax day. It's a beautiful day in Waxahachie.
Indeed.
So quick update. Jeff's going to get to his 56 numbers here in just a minute. But I want to give a recap on the Masters. Was that not an amazing golf tournament? Amazing.
It was good golf.
I mean, somebody asked me the other day, and it may have been you, Jeff. I think it was Bob Lynn asked me. He said, "What of all the sporting events in the world, you could only pick one, what
It's
would it
like none
be?"
other.
The Masters. And
Like
it
none
was
other.
an incredible tournament. And I mean, I just what I would give to be able to play golf like that. You don't
Yeah.
teach most of that is not taught, and not most of it, but some of it's not taught. Is you got to have a God-given ability, but those guys can do things just amazing. And the pressure, the mental
Hmm.
pressure on Rory McIlroy was, uh, I don't know, I don't know how to explain
He
what I
had the weight of
witnessed.
the world on
He
him.
did, and
You know
and
what?
his
It is a global event, and he's not from our country.
no, he's
And
not even Northern Ireland, and
uh,
some of that is self-inflicted uh, pressure because he needed to win it so that he would have what they call the
explain
Grand
to
Slam.
those who may not know what the Grand
Yeah,
Slam
so the
is.
Grand Slam it's in golf, it's in tennis. I
Hmm.
don't believe it's in other sports,
Yeah,
but
those two.
yeah, so those two have 4 major tournaments in their league. And for the PGA, it is the Masters, U.S. Open, the British Open, and the PGA. Well, when a player wins what's called the Grand Slam, it is that that player has won all four of those over the
Right.
span of their career. I think it's happened maybe once or twice. I could be wrong, but that those four tournaments, I probably am wrong. Those four tournaments are all won in the same year, which would be, I know Jordan Spieth came close to it, but that would be incredible.
Right.
Uh, Rory McIlroy, since 2011, has been trying to win the Masters because it would complete the Grand Slam for him. So he's
Because he
got
had the
this,
British, he had the U.S. Open, and he
and he
had the
had the PGA.
PGA.
So
Yeah.
he's wanted, and only six. He's the sixth player in golf history, going back to the 30s, that have has now won the Masters. I'm sorry, the Grand Slam. So
I think, and today we call it the career slam because I
yeah,
think one of those old, very early ones,
may have won them
Hogan
all.
or Snead, won
Won
them
them.
all, and ever since then it became
Yeah,
the career one,
yeah. I think
career
that's
slam.
true.
Okay,
So
here,
incredible.
who are the four tennis? I've got it. I
Four
picked it.
tennis: French Open, Australian Open, U.S. Open, and Wimbledon.
Very good.
Yeah, and
Give,
that's a, quite the.
give me, Sam. Give me surfaces played on in each of those.
I mean,
Ooh,
he didn't have look at
he
it.
looks like a deer in the
You might as well be
headlights.
talking Greek. So you got the French Open is clay,
That's right.
Australian Open is hard court, concrete, Wimbledon's grass, and U.S. Open is the same as Australian Open,
Yeah.
all concrete. So
You
and
know,
I'm gonna tell you
all
something.
that. I mean, that's all synthetic now, isn't it?
I don't know,
Yeah.
probably, but
No, no,
yeah,
no.
yeah, probably. But
We're,
I mean,
yeah.
the idea for me, I'm not a. I love to play tennis, but I love watching the Wimbledon and I love watching U.S. Open. Those are the only two I
y-
watch.
But you know what's cool about the French on the clay?
What's that?
Sliding,
Well, sliding and the ball.
sliding, and you get a little slide on the grass, but nothing like the
Yeah.
slide you get
Yeah,
on that
and
clay.
white socks turn to clay color
Yeah.
during
Yeah.
a match, and it's very slow, much slower surface. So anyway, there you
Yeah.
have it. Great, great, great tournament. And for those of you who like golf, I'm sure you agree. Easter's coming this Sunday, so this is Advent week. We aren't Catholic in my family, so we don't do much of that. You know, none of the beginning of Lent and all of that, but we do celebrate the resurrection of Jesus, and this is an important week for us. It isn't just a week for us; it's a life uh, way of living that everything's around that resurrection. So without the resurrection, we don't have anything. So anyway, it's a very good week in that
It was
sense.
kind of uh, an apostrophe at the end of his life. Proof.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's
And
right.
if you don't believe everything so far, how about I just roll back them rocks and disappear like I said I would,
Yeah,
right?
I like to write handwritten letters and like sending texts out of the blue to people. I came across the other day a card, stationery set said in a real cool looking way, it said, I have seen the goodness of God.
Hmm.
And so I bought them. They were like $6 a piece. So I went ahead and bought 10. But and so it's hard for me to understand how people don't believe in all of that, but I certainly do, and I know you do too. So does Sammy. All right, there you go. So let's transition into the worldly stuff. We're going to start today with. Oh, you didn't do your 56.
Oh, you
Yeah,
know what?
do you have them? You just stick them with Sergey?
I decided when I looked, I didn't see much of anything, and then Sergey wasn't even on, it, and I go, "There's nobody. I'm
It's
giving."
kind of a crappy number, to
It
tell you the
is.
truth.
We've gotten past all those linebacker numbers: 51, 52, 4,
Yeah, so we got
5, 6.
57 coming up, 58, 59. Yep, that'd probably
Okay.
be on there. But
Yeah.
anyway,
We'll know
all
next
right.
week. We'll
So
know next
Sergey
week.
Zubov is who we're sticking with today, and the Stars will be playing the Colorado Avalanche starting, I think, Saturday.
Yep.
In what is the NHL playoffs, like the NBA playoffs, are a whole nother season of hockey. It's like goes on for 3 months almost.
It does.
It's crazy.
Well, it's best of 7. You got to win 4 rounds. That's 28.
Yeah,
And even if you went 5 a couple rounds,
yeah. It's a
you know,
lot of hockey. It's great. NHL hockey, playoff hockey's great. All right, so let's talk about what we've labeled here as for our segment is the disregard for morality in America. I think. Oh, Terry. Oh yeah, Lawrence. Oh, how could you miss that? Oh my God. Terry, you busted him. Look, he's speechless. And that doesn't happen very
You
often.
know what? I was so busy getting ready for the prep for the hard part that we got later on in this
Terry got you on that one.
that I didn't go very deep, Jerry. Thank you,
Terry,
brother.
good,
Thank you.
good, good catch, Terry. Uh, the disregard for morality in America. First of all, do you believe there is a disregard?
Uh, when was there never not?
Well, I would argue, although I didn't live in the 50s, I did grow up, born in the
Yeah,
early
in the fifth.
60s. I think the 60s and 70s, there are people that disregarded morality, but as a country, we still stood on morals and principles and godly
But
principles.
we were so divided. It
Yeah,
was
we
so
were. I
divided.
mean, but
But yeah,
today, I mean, I can't imagine
uh,
back in the
it's
70s.
way worse,
Well,
obviously.
I can imagine back in the 70s us talk about how rogue judges, because of the political persuasions they have, would treat treat in the example we're about to use these criminals with such I don't ease and lightheartedness and gentle, gentleness. I don't get it. So let me
Are
just
you
give you some.
talking about what was once known as spare the rod, spoil the
Yeah,
child?
exactly.
Right?
So that's a very good segue into what's going on in Frisco. If you remember on April the 2nd, at a track meet at one of the Frisco high schools, a young black man and a young white man had the worst interaction of all you can imagine. That is that the black young man was sitting under the tent of the high school of another high school, which happened to be the high school of the young black kid, and they got into an altercation that led to the young black kid pulling a knife and stabbing the other kid in the heart and killing him. I mentioned the black and the white only because that is I would feel the exact same way whether the roles were reversed, whether they were both black, whether they were both white, doesn't really matter. Other than it's a part of the national narrative now, and and so here we have this kid, the killer, because he told the cop just minutes after being arrested, after he had run away, uh, when the cop said this is the alleged killer, the killer said, It's not alleged. I did it.
Yeah.
I did it."
And then he said, "Is he okay?
Yeah, is he okay?
Is he
So
okay?"
so we have the young man who said, "Yeah, I did it." So we have the young man who killed another kid because there
And
was
there
a
were eyewitnesses to boot.
yeah,
And you got this bloody guy that is dead before he gets to the hospital on one stab to the heart.
yeah, I mean, you stab at the right spot in the heart, it's over. And
Mm,
and so as the story went, the kid who killed the other kid was put in jail under $1 million bond. Under $1 million bond, I assume it works like all other bonds,
10%.
10% of it.
You got
If
to
that's
pay to
cash
play.
bond, that would mean that they have to have $10,000 cash to get him out on bond. I mean
100,000.
100,000. Yeah, sorry, $100,000. Uh, if it's not a cash bond, then they can use their equity in their home or whatever assets they
Right.
might have to put up for the bond. Well, the bond held a bond hearing yesterday of this judge, this woman judge up in Frisco, Collin County, who lowered the bond from $1 million to $250,000. And the young man then walked out of prison in his little suit and or out of jail in his little suit. He is now confined at home, has a ankle monitor. He can't do certain things, but the audacity. I mean, you got the family of the young man who was murdered. He doesn't get any bond. He didn't do anything wrong other than, I mean, sure, if he shoved or he bullied,
Sam.
um,
Right.
yeah, what was that noise? I,
Well, I couldn't
swear,
find it
me and
coming
that
in, and
phone, I'm
that's
gonna
where it
break
is.
it. Uh, but so you got the family of the young man who was killed, and the family of the young man who's in jail, and the judge seems to me to have little care about what the family of the boy murdered might have felt. Lowers this guy's bond,
So
and
we
I
got a
don't
clip, or are
understand
you
it.
going to read one on that?
What?
A clip, or are you going to read a
No, wait,
story?
I got a couple things I want to read because it
Do
just
do you have
exhibits
his wording of
who.
why the judge did it?
It's a woman, first of all, named
Okay.
Angela
See,
Tucker.
we can just say the judge. We don't have to say
No,
there.
we don't. Oh, what? We don't have to say what?
We don't have to say there.
Yeah, we don't have
Her
her.
there.
Yeah, true. Um, let's see. She. uh, well, no, it doesn't really quote the judge. I don't think judges speak to the media. But while under house arrest, the judge said Anthony will only be permitted to leave home with her permission. I had to use her because that's what's in the story,
That's good.
namely trips to his attorney's office and meetings in court, and will need to be with an adult at all times. He's also not to contact the Metcalf family, which is the family of the young man he
Hmm.
murdered.
Okay.
I would be saying you can't be on social media. Don't dare touch a computer for any other reasons. You just sit in your house like you are in jail, even though you have the comforts of home. Um,
Great point. Great
Factors
point.
factors according to this judge that were considered in her ruling included Anthony's age, lack of criminal history, and ties to the community, including several family members, close friends, a football coach, and a manager from one of his part-time jobs who showed up to the hearing. On the Metcalf family side of the courtroom, which was also full, Megan Metcalf, Austin's mother, the young man that was murdered, bowed her head and cried as the decision came down. I don't get why a judge, just based on that alone, why a judge would be doing this. It drives me nuts. Um, Greg Willis, who will be the district attorney prosecuting this, obviously had issues with it. What we are concerned about as prosecutors is justice, truth, and accountability, and so we will go where the facts lead us. Um, it is the most unnatural thing for a parent to lose their child. The Anthony's attorneys wanted the bond lowered to 200, I mean, to 150 grand.
Hmm.
So I guess in some stupid kind of way, the judge can say, well, I didn't go as low as I could have.
They had
But
some pretty big GoFundMe money built
yeah,
up
that
too.
was going
What
to
was
get to
that?
that.
You got that? All right.
So yeah, as of Monday morning, yesterday morning, an online fundraiser for Carmelo Anthony had surpassed $415,000.
And the quote I read is that the father said, well, "We will need that money for bail and legal." And
Well,
so the bail's only 25 now out of 10% of
yeah.
the 250.
Well, the kid walked out yesterday. So when asked
Yeah.
by Collin County's first assistant district attorney, Bill Werski, why that money wasn't already being used to get Carmelo Anthony out of jail, Andrew Anthony, Carmelo's dad, said the money from the site could not immediately be accessed. I call BS on that. Howard later clarified that the funds will also be needed for Anthony's long-term defense, including paying for experts, a team of investigators, and other manpower. It would be disingenuous to say there isn't money, but it is not a bond fund. This family needs to be able to survive. So
Well, I wouldn't spend a whole lot of money on investigators.
yeah, I mean,
Uh,
well,
What?
here's what's going to
What?
happen. I think.
What?
I think what's going to happen is that he'll be convicted.
Yeah.
He did it. Now, what he'll be convicted of, who knows what a jury will do? But there's going to be a civil trial. So a civil trial has a lower burden, as you know, of proof. And so at some point, the family of the Metcalf family is going to be wanting money, which is the only thing they can get out of a civil trial, as their way of some form of relief. And
Well, wait a
so
minute. If they win the criminal,
if who wins the criminal?
if the Metcalfs win the criminal by him getting any kind of a
Yeah.
conviction, then I think a civil on top of that. Oh,
Well, civil on top of that,
civil be coming from the other side.
civil would come from the Metcalf family against the Anthony family for monetary.
They don't need to do that.
Well, they're going to.
Well, they don't need to do that.
Well, let's
Just
let's
because
just
you've
play.
been wrong,
Well,
just be happy the guy went to prison
but
instead of trying to turn it into a
let me get for
money
kicks and
stream.
giggles. What if the young man who murdered? What if Carmelo Anthony got a manslaughter
Okay, and he goes to jail for it.
for 5 years as
Whatever,
a family?
whatever he goes
If it
for
was
is
your
whatever he goes
if
for.
look, I think they ought to go use every means by which they can get some relief, whether
From
monetary.
somebody who doesn't have any money,
Well, they got money. They got $415,000 out of a
that's gonna all be
GoFundMe.
gone. Whatever. I don't.
Well, I'm just saying they're gonna that money's gonna they're gonna need that money sooner or later. All right, let's give another example. Taylor Lorenz. Taylor Lorenz is a female, uh, and that only matters because I want people to know who Taylor Lorenz is. She used to be a Washington Post reporter. She's now a freelancer. The story here is that Taylor Lorenz continued her defense of alleged United Healthcare CEO murder murderer Luigi Mangione in what many view as a beyond vile segment of CNN this past Sunday. Lorenz was on some show. Um, she said Mangione became somewhat of a folk hero to the far left after he was arrested for the murder of Brian Thompson, with some viewing it as a comeuppance for the greedy insurance industry.
I
So we
love the
remember
word
this.
comeuppance.
Yeah. So we remember this in early December on the streets of New York, just before dawn. Mangione walked up behind this CEO and shot him. So just like a coward would. Here's what Lorenz had to say, and again, this is in the context of what's happening to our morality. Here's this man who's a revolutionary, who's famous, who's handsome, who's young, who's smart. Sounds like Sammy. He's a person who seems like he's the morally good man, which is hard to find. Lorenz teased in a snippet that was shared on X or Twitter. That's what she says
Well
about it.
educated and from rich money.
She says, people wonder why we want these executives dead. That's what the reporter said. And many people have responded to it. Here's one of the quotes. CNN is now celebrating a fiery but mostly peaceful assassination. Oh, this is what, yeah, conservative pundit said. CNN is now celebrating a fiery but mostly peaceful assassination of a husband and father. Another said, this is doughy,
Mostly
Doughy,
peaceful.
doughy.
I don't understand mostly peaceful when you shoot somebody
Yeah,
down.
I mean, this is a doughy CNN correspondent nodding approvingly while a psychopath, Taylor Lorenz, asserts it's fine to support cold-blooded murder for political reasons. This is CNN. I happen to agree. The only thing more embarrassing, said another, than being Taylor Lorenz is citing her as an authority in your show about misinformation. Uh, this is beyond vile, utterly heinous. CNN is happy to call any opinions they don't like harmful and dangerous, and now they're doing an interview with Taylor Lorenz, who openly fawns over Luigi Mangione and calls him moral. Amazing what protection having the amazing what protection having the right political ideology buys. And then Dean Cain, the guy that played Superman,
Okay.
said disgusting. Taylor Lorenz also said it gave her great joy to see this CEO murdered.
Is there irony or disconnect in this world that this man, as we've described him, this blue blood
Yeah,
is not exactly what you call a man of the people. And all these type of responses, normally it's a ground swelling for the downtrodden rising above
yeah,
all the
yeah,
wretchedness and can't take any more and snaps or
yeah.
whatever.
I,
It's
that's what I'm talking about. That's the
incongruous.
moral of the segment is that the morality, it's all upside down. Here's the last thing I'll share with this about this from Taylor Lorenz. Quote, I do believe in the sanctity of life. That's what she says. And I think that's why I felt, along with so many other Americans, joy, unfortunately. Maybe
Who
not
is
joy,
Taylor
but
Lorenz?
certainly not empathy. Washington Post reporter, former. She got axed. I think she got axed or fired.
Good.
But
And then she lands at
this,
CNN.
no, she's a freelancer, but CNN was interviewing her.
Oh,
Again, she says, I just listen to this. The I don't even the
audacity,
juxtapose well that yeah, but
juxtaposition.
of morality. I do believe in the sanctity of life, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
paraphrase. And I think that's why I felt, along with so many other people, why the CEO's life was taken away. She's saying the opposite things in the same sentence, that she supports both things. Piers Morgan says to her, how could this make you joyful? This guy is a husband, he's a father, and he's been gunned down in the middle of Manhattan. Why does that make you joyful? Lorenz later claimed that she was being mischaracterized in the media and meant that she found joy in elite pundits being forced to confront the barbaric nature of our healthcare system. You don't get much more barbaric than unloading your weapon on a guy who has no idea you're behind him, who has no chance. Uh, that's about as barbaric as it gets. But that's what's happened to our media at large. That's what's happening to society. We got two stories here, both involve murder. The people like Taylor Lorenz is celebrating. The other, this whack. judge is uh, finding empathy and sympathy for the killer at the expense of the one murdered. It just is
Yeah,
awful. And I agree
yeah,
with
yeah.
those who
Mm.
say it's heinous and disgusting.
It is
Anything else on
sad.
that?
No, just sad.
It is
It
sad.
makes me sad.
All right. Here's another one story or
What you got, brother?
topic. Use of pronouns. I think you probably
Oh,
saw recently where the Trump White House policy is now to ignore reporters using pronouns in emails. Um, the White House is barring them, is not communicating with them. So if they get an email from a reporter that has that reporter's pronouns in the email or in the SIG,
you
they
mean
will not respond to them.
him or her,
Any of
or
them.
the them?
Any of them. If I wrote the White House and I said Scott Brooks, and then I don't know if they do it parenthetically or underneath or however they do
Oh,
it.
declaring your.
Yeah, if it says in my SIG, Scott Brooks, he, him,
Mm-hmm.
the White House has made a decision and disclosed it publicly that they will no longer uh, interact with those, that they will ignore them. Specifically, it says, the, well, and the New York Times, of all products, rags, decided to cover it. The New York Times put a spotlight last week on the White House press office refusing to respond to emailed questions from reporters who display their pronouns, saying they deny, this is the White House, those reporters deny, quote, biological reality and can't be trusted to report with integrity. Other media relations figures at other government agencies gave similar responses to those who display their pronouns. The White House has the policy in place because any report, quote, any reporter who chooses to put their preferred pronouns in their bio clearly does not care about biological reality or truth and therefore cannot be trusted to write an honest story.
Right.
So I
And that's just the half of the story about what we have to talk about, right?
well, yeah. And I'll let you start with the second half, but let me finish this part right here. The New York Times disparaged the policy. Surprise, huh? Evading tough questions certainly runs counter to transparent engagement with free and independent press reporting, a New York Times spokesperson said, but refusing to answer a straightforward request, straightforward, I find that amusing, request to explain the administration's policies because of the formatting of an email signature is both a concerning and baffling choice. Andrew Bates, who served as President Joe Biden's deputy White House press secretary, said the Trump team was trying to divert attention from economic difficulties. That's the Trump White quote. That's the Trump White House admitting how weak it is after shattering his top economic promises with the biggest middle class tax hike in modern history. The subtext is, quote, so I know my tariffs are raising everyday prices. I ran on lowering and hollowing out your 401ks, but you will shut up and be happy if I randomly push a few reporters around. So the White House says you play this stupid woke game on us or try to, we will just simply won't interact with you. And as far as I'm concerned, if somebody wrote me as a publisher of the Sun and wants me to take them serious, but in their SIG, remember we had that discussion the other day about the guy out in California that identifies as a turtle,
Yeah.
and he puts them in his he has a name for himself. If somebody wrote me, first of all, I think it was a joke. Secondly, I would say I am not wasting a split second on this guy. If this guy is so delusional that he identifies as a turtle, I don't care if he identifies as a male or female, but he goes to the extent of putting in all this woke stuff. I have no use for him. I don't, and so I'm right there with the White House, and that's just the way it goes. The White House is no longer interacting with them. So it'd be interesting to see how many of them now delete the pronouns and then communicate with the White House. Thoughts?
Deep thoughts, deep thoughts. Actually, America World, this whole segment before that happened was something we've talked about twice. I said to Scott, we need to talk about the plural pronouns. This whole discussion is because making it all came out of the fact that they think that that there are people that want to use other than their birth pronoun, they're going with the opposite. And in print that has been solved to some degree by people that want to just use them and their instead of he and she. And I'm going to get back to how you get the workarounds about that. But the main thing about that is that the reason I care about it is I'm a stickler for minutia. I'm a big reader of the paper. I've had over a dozen corrections printed by the Fort Worth paper, and now on the Dallas side, I've got about three of them. And I'm always hounding Scott when they make a mistake, and he says, "Yes, we did that wrong. Sometimes I'll see something before it goes to press that a change will be made." And and what really set me off after seeing this all the time in the paper and being infuriated by it, I started realizing that all the time when I get a notification from Instagram, it'll say, Sammy, Sammy has something that that they want to show you, or about their picture or their experience. And I'm going, did Sammy ever ask for a there? No. Does do you have to even have it in there? You could just say the word Sammy twice in the sentence.
Yeah.
And so it was brewing on me, and we decided to do this section. Or I saw that we were picking this, and I thought, well, let me go somewhere with this, because here's the thing about there. It is a very perfect term for trans, because they are going from one to the other. They were, and now they are.
Hmm.
And so I'm good with the double pronoun. But we don't need a double pronoun for the less than half of a percent of people in the country and the world that are trans. It's not a gay thing either. A gay person, if you are a gay woman, you are a she, you're not a there.
Hmm.
And same with men. So I did poll 3 family gay members last night, and let me just give you some basic comments from brother who's my Irish twin, who just preferred to be referred to as a family member who's a baby boomer.
Okay.
But he's a retired guy. He's a great guy, and he in his retirement he's working a customer service position at a elite grocery store. And his answer is, if they ask, I will of course use what they've asked for. Um, but grammar is generational, not a fixed thing, and um, that language is fluid, and it does keep changing with time. And he's an educated guy, and he spent his life in teaching educational rules. I thought that was an interesting perspective,
Well, let
but
me.
he wasn't lobbying for him or any other gay person to be using a plural pronoun.
Yeah. So
Pronoun,
I would. That's an interesting point to say that grammar. I would say more ebonics has. I mean, a period is a period. A period needs to remain a period in the place that it was put.
right?
If we took that philosophy and said, well, the sport of baseball has changed over the centuries, uh, it's still at its core baseball.
And I think the heart of his message was usage changed over
Yeah.
time. And the dictionary is all we always talk about at the end of the year. What were the new words that
Right.
were added? It was because they were part of the common vernacular
Yeah.
now. And so I like that perspective. My second person I talked to was a 70-year-old female, dear, sweet cousin of mine who's a retired lawyer. And she says she does not use the plural unless asked,
Okay.
which is reasonable.
Yeah.
In her retirement, she has been on a board of a nonprofit for a number of years now, who was founded by rich black men wanting to establish a scholarship fund for rich black gay men
Mm,
for gay black men.
mm,
And now they give away between 800,000 and a million a year. That's a lot of scholarships.
mhm.
And their cause is the entire LGBTQ world. And in that process, she tells me that the only time there's ever any um, pronoun indication is with the transgender.
Yeah.
And she said, and I love this about the gaiety causes and roots. She says, you know, we got so much of it in my family. It makes it easier for me to realize that it is gene driven, and we have it. I've got a generation below me and above me. She says, and
Hmm.
you know, and she said, you do not choose. You choose to decide what your identity is, but make no mistake, nobody would ever choose to be gay unless they were gay. It's not it's not the easy road to travel. It's realizing and accepting what your identity is. And it reminded me of the book back in the 60s called Black Like Me. It was a famous bestseller about a guy that wanted to understand what black people go through, and he got a doctor to give him some sort of a changing medication, and it lasted for a limited period of time, and then he wrote about his experience. And I think you might traditionally say that I don't think you necessarily uh, choose to be a minority color, especially in our country that's treated black people so bad.
Yeah.
So
It's kind of heavy stuff.
it is kind of
For
heavy stuff.
me, Isaac says them and their silliness. I happen to be of the same mindset there. Here's at the end of the day, as they say, the old WWJD, what would Jesus do?
Hmm.
Still resonates with me. And so, in a lot of these cases where I struggle with, like we had a story, remember about 2 weeks ago, we had a story about the teacher in Red Oak
Right.
who went to Christmas as a guy, came back after Christmas as a girl, claiming to be a girl. But he was never had any surgery, so he's still biologically a guy. Well, in our story, we purposefully wrote and used the pronoun he,
Right.
and we took some heat for it. Now, the heat we took, again, it's like America. The heat we took was small in number, loud in voice, and so we knew we were going to get it. But I just said in my life, I am using the if a he is a he, that's what I'm using. And I don't want to be rude. I think Jesus would say would do the same thing. He would be gentle and compassionate. But I don't think Jesus in his day would have ever said to a woman, a man who was claiming to be a woman, he would not have, I don't think he would have misgendered them. I don't think that he would have. I think he would have wanted to have counsel with them. He wanted to show them their uh, missteps and that sort of thing. But for me, I think we only exacerbate where society is headed, and that's down the drain by playing these games. So going back to the beginning of the story, I'm with the White House on this. I
Oh, well, I am too in
Yeah, I
that
know you are.
regard. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, here's the thing. And the third person, Patrick, uh, mid 40s bartender, it's important to get things right. He asks people, he gives people what they want. He told me in that he used to be in the PR business, and he too used to have to watch carefully on the AP style book, and that's the whole reason that it got big in print was the AP style book,
Yeah.
and they said that, and then he went and he looked it up, and they have softened it very much, and here's the essence to of how they've softened it. They say that the singular or plural is allowed, but that um, really if you have the opportunity to just use the his or hers, that's best. And most importantly, you can rework sentences in ways to not use a pronoun at all.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of my limited amount of Spanish that I do speak. But with a limited amount of Spanish, it's incredible how much I can say because you can simply you can phrase any sentence about anything 10 different ways,
Hmm.
right? And so I find ways to use words that I know to speak, and it's the same thing that in print there are plenty of ways to completely avoid it.
Yeah, there are. I mean, particularly when you're writing when you're writing an opinion piece, you have more flexibility with your words and language and that sort of thing. I think that if we, by example, in our story about the guy in Red Oak, if we would have been talking about his before Christmas, who he was, we would have used he, and then in the same story, we switched over to calling him a she, we would have been identified by most, 75 or 80% of our city and our county and certainly our readership as being woke. Not only that, it's silly and confusing. So I don't want to be. Here's the challenge for me: is I don't want to be rude. I do respect people. I have empathy. I want to have compassion, but I do not want to participate in the woke nature of society. And sometimes, particularly with those that are ultra sensitive, which are most LGBTQ trans people, that can be ultra sensitive, they'll see that as me being a bully, or me being a jerk, or whatever else. Uh, which get in line. But
The most important thing is people are what they are, and if however you feel you are, essentially that's how you are. But it doesn't have to be everybody's business
it
either.
doesn't.
So,
Yeah. So,
um,
yeah. One more thing I'll say is, if we take what we're talking about here and we applied it to someone who, and we can laugh all day about this, but we just talked about a guy who literally identifies as a turtle, and there are schools that have kids that identify as kittens or rabbits or whatever. If we then say, well, what about the guy who identifies as a dog? What do we call? Do we and wants to be called Fido? Are we going to have a conversation as though it's a normal conversation when we're referring to somebody as a dog? Or
right.
we just it gets easier to make the argument for those that thinks pronouns should be adhered to for trans people when we're talking about humans. But when it comes to the ludicrous, ridiculous, absurd, obnoxious uh, identification as a animal, then even those who are absorbed in the woke world can still see it. That is silly. I'm not going to call a guy turtle when I'm talking to him or her. I'm not. So I think it's the woke. The idea of woke is such a bad thing for our country, for our society, and I just want to stick to what the simple way of life. And I don't want to be a jerk to people, but I'm not going to be forced by anybody to use anything but what somebody was born as their pronoun. Fair enough.
Yeah, and help me this. Names like Mr. and Mrs. and Miss, those are they're not pronouns. What do you call those?
Their their titles or labels. There's a better
Self
word for it. There's
Salutatory
yeah.
name or something.
Yeah. So, I mean, you got to know how to use those. And, almost
What?
always when people write me, like I got some emails this morning from people about my column. If they write and they sign in an email, they sign off as their first name.
Yeah.
That's how I refer back to them.
Yeah.
If they sometimes, or if I sense it because of their email, they may be older, I'll use the Mr. or Mrs. or if you don't know a woman is married, then whether she's old or not, because she's maybe a widow, you use MS.
And you can back to the reworkings. The his, her, Scott. His, her, Sam. His, her, Jeff.
Yeah.
His, her, what's my? And I just thought this just popped in my head, but it's really weird. When George Floyd was tragically killed in Minneapolis and the protesting came about, didn't they start chanting, "Call me by my name,
Yeah.
call me by my name"?
Yeah.
And guess what? That's all we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Just call me by my name.
Yeah. Exactly. So
Call
anyway,
me
there
by
you
my
there you
name.
have it. I think
Call me by my name.
The White House is definitely committed passionately to what they believe is a calibration of society to the extent they can impact it, and they can. All right. He said. He said. Best part of the Masters for you, from Thursday until Sunday. Let's make the caveat. We put aside the winning celebration because that's going to be everybody's best part. And you look, TikTok is loaded with guys like us being videotaped at home reacting to Rory making that final putt. Putting that aside, anything else strike you?
Very much so.
Yeah.
I had pimento cheese 4 days in a row. and you know how good it was because the fourth day we were down to the bottom of the barrel, and we were cooking hamburgers, and I had four burgers pre-patted, and I had pimento cheese on
I was
top
gonna
of it, a
say, is that
pimento
good?
a pimento cheese cheeseburger, and that is off of the charts. So
Yeah. Sammy
and
loved that pimento cheese, didn't you, son? Yeah.
yeah, and I had the out of body throwback to the Masters that if you've been there and you've had your pimento cheese and you've got your beer in a Masters cup and you're listening to the birds and you know that feeling that when you come back to your home, if you've got pimento cheese and you got beer in a cup and you open the door, you got the birds outside and you got on TV the birds and you close your eyes
Yeah.
and breathe deeply, you receive an out of body master's experience. And I know you people think I'm an idiot, but I,
You're a
I
peaceful idiot.
I'm a peaceful idiot, and I've been doing that every year since 2008, the first time I went.
All right. So
And your
for me,
favorite was
I
top that.
yeah, that I can't top that. But I will say that I enjoy the interactions between caddy and player.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
I can't point to one there because now CBS, the Masters allows these caddies and players to be heard.
mic'd
Uh,
up, mic'd up.
yeah, I don't know if they're wearing mics or if they got booms that can
Yeah,
hear, but you'll hear the best thing for me when I hear that interaction, a caddy after they have their discussion, the really good caddies, which I don't ever use. My caddy's
yeah,
me,
right.
but I can only imagine the importance of having a caddy.
And
A
he
caddy,
says, "I love that club on you."
that's one thing, but and by example, when I did this show by myself,
Yeah,
I hated it. Now
right,
that I have you here and Sammy here, I love it.
right.
So I sense that that's the relationship with a caddy. Although
Mm-hmm.
there are jerks like Bubba Watson and although Ian Woosnam, as we talked about, had a legitimate right to be upset with his caddy, can be jerks to their caddy.
Sure.
But when a caddy, after their discussion, when a caddy says, "Okay,
Mm-hmm.
commit to it," you pulled out an 8 iron and you're 170 yards away on number 15 with water in front of the green, a green that slopes back down into the water.
Yeah.
And that's what we've agreed. That's what we're going to go with. We know what the green on the grass, which way it's laying, and all this stuff, the air, the temperature. If that's, and I'm with you. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Commit
Commit.
to it. And
Yeah.
and I'm convinced something like that took place when Rory on number 15 on Sunday, he was either tied or down one, hit his second shot, which is on a par five, to within 10 feet of the hole on 15.
From the rough over the tree.
Around trees, essentially over and around, because he had to hook it. Uh, and that ball kept just rolled right. And you see Rory walking like this is mine, and I've just told everybody I own it, and here I'm
Yeah.
coming.
Yeah.
I love it. It's the equivalent of the twirl. Tiger does that twirl.
In a tournament where he had the weight burden of the world on his shoulders and he wasn't a smiley boy for 72 holes.
Yeah,
That with the exception of when he made the putt in overtime, that was the biggest smile of the
yeah.
whole tournament. And
It
and
was
that did put him in the position. Was it a birdie or an eagle
on
on 15
on
on the
15. He missed the eagle, made the birdie.
okay. That
I think that's what it
that's the
was.
special
Yeah.
moment. I believe you're correct. I believe
All
you're
right.
correct.
There you go. So time for poem. You got a good one?
Yes, sir. It's the second poem of the first book, and it was in the tumultuous times. The one with the pumpkins, tumultuous times of the 2020s, and this was on June 20, 2020, and it's called Offended, and it kind of talks about the AP style silliness and about a different issue from back then. Same thing. I'm reading along the paper, and I go, Rita, what is with the capital B all of a sudden? I saw it yesterday. I saw it today, and I did a little research, and the AP in their beloved style book, the Bible of Style: How to Write in Today's World in a Fluid Language That Changes, especially because of people like the AP,
Mm,
have now called for capital
capital
B
of
for black and other minorities, but not the white. And I go, enough is enough. It's the second poem I ever
Yeah.
wrote. It's called Offended. And it goes something like this: She's offended, he's offended. The whole world needs to be upended. You're offensive to me. Forget about thee. My feelings are hurt. Everybody seems to blur. Tear down that statue. They're all bad news. It's up for us, of course, which ones to choose. Let's forget all our history. We'll make it a big mystery. Don't learn from the past. No, it's gone at last. No memorials to remember. Just vote no in November. No names, no recollections. Change the bills and stamps in all collections. Wow. Big B is for black, little W is for white. Such a show of media muscle, a misguided sign of might. The left leaning press has made this mess. The AP started it, they'll confess. Then the big city paper said, us too. So all the rest of print thought too, they too must do. While we need the capital B, lowercase w is what will be. They claim a capital W for white is a show of white supremacy. So all the races get the capital letters except white? No silliness to the end in sight. The dictionary folks then got in the act common word usage they will always back. Now we have both cases in the book. If you don't believe it, just go take a look. If I was black, I think I'd feel like here's the deal. What's the big B going to do for me? Capital B is for black, won't bring George Floyd back. Just like the small b for black didn't cause the kneeling on his back. But I am white, so it's really not worth the fight. So it seems to me it's an inconsistent and new slight. Does the letter's case define one's face? It really does come down to love versus hate. What we choose determines fate.
Very good.
Thank you.
So true. It's very, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. It's time for Day in History. Sammy, you ready? Yeah. All right. You
Uh,
still need a haircut, son.
I need one today too.
Yeah. Take Sammy with you. All right.
How,
How many do we have?
we got six. How do you go 12 and 0 on six? You get a bunch of.
You went 12 and 0?
I got a bunch of bonuses.
Hmm.
And Sam, you've been getting a better feel for when certain things happen.
Yeah.
Like,
It's because I answer first.
no, like
Okay.
he pretty much knows when Abraham Lincoln died after being shot by John Wilkes Booth at Ford's Theater the previous evening. Andrew Johnson was then sworn in as the 17th president hours later.
Repeat after me. All right.
1865.
1865.
1865. You
Boom.
are learning.
Got it.
We had this next one the other day too.
Oh, did we?
The British luxury, in a different fashion, the British luxury liner RMS Titanic sunk in the North Atlantic off Newfoundland, been there, just over 2.5 hours after hitting an iceberg on its maiden voyage. Over 1,500 people died and 710 survived.
1913.
1915.
1912.
Oh my goodness.
You're all around it.
Yep.
All
All
right.
right.
You give yourself the bonus on the first one, Sam?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
I got the bonus on the year, and we have a bonus on a fact also. Here we go. And you only get one for the fact bonus. Maximum 3 points. Here we go. Jackie Robinson, baseball's first black major league player of the modern era distinction, made his official debut with the blank on opening day at Abbott's Field, if that helps you. Jackie Robinson breaks in. He breaks the color barrier.
Brooklyn Dodgers.
Brooklyn Dodgers, you got the bonus
Booyah.
there. Booyah there.
I was gonna say the Reds.
In the year
Um,
for the big bonus,
oh gosh, I want to say 1945.
I'm gonna say 1951.
it wouldn't do that when the world
I
was
know,
just
but it was
winding down.
over.
47.
Okay,
47. They
well,
did. All right.
Okay, I got it.
I'm 6-0, 5-0.
Here you go. You got a chance for a year and a bonus on a fact here.
Okay.
Ray Kroc opened the first blank franchise in Des Plaines, Illinois.
Chili's.
Oh no, McDonald's.
McDonald's.
Ah,
And he then owned some baseball team,
Padres.
Padres.
Mm-hmm.
So what year did that happen?
Oh, what year? For what?
wait, what did he do?
For the Ray Kroc.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
When did he open that first McDonald's?
1959.
69.
55.
Ah,
Sammy. Terry said 1864, but I'm not sure which question.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, here's one more bonus opportunity.
All right.
Because if I know it, you know it.
Yeah.
Two bombs made from pressure cookers exploded at the Boston Marathon finish line, killing 2 women and an 18-year-old boy and injuring more than 260. And then there was the great movie that Rita and I did see after that. Remember the marathon movie?
Yeah.
It was good.
I just watched it. It has that.
Okay, so what year did it happen?
Man.
I don't know. I'm gonna say. I have no idea.
In your life, Sam, in your life.
2005.
2012.
Come on, dude. 13.
Oh my
Hmm.
goodness.
You got it, but not the bonus.
Man.
And we close with. I was mad to not get the bonus here. I shouldn't be crying about my 12-0. But
Good job, Terry.
fire
Yeah.
swept across the top of the Notre Dame de Paris Cathedral during renovation work on the landmark structure. The blaze collapsed the cathedral's spire and spread to one of its iconic rectangular towers. The cathedral was restored and reopened to the public in December 24. They reopened it.
Where is this at?
And-
The Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris.
Yeah, I think it was.
My French threw you off.
I'm gonna say 2019.
I was gonna say that 2020.
Well, you were gonna say it, and it's the bonus. He scared you out of it. You can still have it.
I'm
Oh,
good.
wait a minute.
So you got the bonus.
I
there.
got 11
You
and
got
0.
11-0. 11-0.
Sammy, you did you?
I got 6. So I
Sweet.
missed. I think I missed 1.
Very good. That's fun.
That is fun. We
Um,
have a lot of fun with that.
All right, so we have,
We gotta get
as
a
you all
meme in
know,
here,
we got to
right?
leave with our good news. We got the grid all covered. Now we need some good news. Sammy's going to play a video that is brief, but I think gives you a sense of never
gonna
giving
lift you
up.
up.
This, let me just set this up. This is Rory McIlroy last year when he was playing the U.S. Open, another major he had already won. He was leading going into the back nine in that tournament, ended up losing. This is him in the watching the end of it from the locker room.
Believe in you. You lost again and again and again. The lights are cut off, but you're still looking at your dream, reviewing it every day and saying to yourself, it's not over until I win.
Yep, there you go. So, moral of the story is we hear it all the time: never give up. That's a perfect example. We got a lot more coming on Thursday in the next 3 shows. Probably sometime next week, we're going to be announcing some really cool things that we're super excited about. But that's the good news. So you have great and good news, and Jeffrey will take it away.
And remember, don't write a check you can't cash.